Then I received a question, from some people who've been, practicing this kind of practice for a while, about doing the generation and completion stage practices with the Amitabha. Amitabha is a Kriya Tantra practice. It's not highest yoga practice. So there isn't a generation and completion stage, and you don't take all 4 initiations with it. You just take part of the vows initiation. Okay, so I did read in one thing, the one Lama called it, when you're doing the visualization of sending out light, which I'll describe in a minute, he called that generation stage, and then after Amitabha dissolves into you at the end of the sadhana completion. But that's really not the usual meaning of generation and completion stage practices. So this is just for those people. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, it's okay. Okay, but just to answer. So, it's a front generation practice specifically, so until the very end. So what you want to focus on is, your visualization of the Pure Land with Amitabha, in the middle of it. And on his right, which would be on our left, it says his right, but it's actually on the right, on his left as we look at it. That one is Kuan Yin, isn't it? Yeah, Kuan Yin's, as we look at Amitabha's on that side. So it's usually four-armed Kuan Yin with the first 2 hands are at the heart, and then the upper 2 hands holding a rosary and a flower. Yeah. Chenrezig is Kuan Yin. Oh, yes. I'm just used to thinking seeing the 3 as a series in how the Tibetans depict it. But when I say Kuan Yin, I mean Chenrezig, and when I say Chenrezig, I mean Kuan Yin. Okay? Yeah. So, so white, forearms, first 2 hands here, and the second, and standing. Yeah, which is interesting. But that's funny, because Amitabha is definitely sitting. And then on the right, it has Vajrapani, which one face 2 arms, blue, holding a Vajra and bell, and he's also standing. So I don't know, let's check on that. In any case, what is secure is you can have the Pure Land with Amitabha in the middle of it, which is exactly what our sadhana says. Okay? And I wouldn't be surprised, whether Chenrezig and Vajrapani stand up or sit down. That I don't know. See, what's strange for me is I'm so used to seeing in the Chinese tradition Amitabha with Kuan Yin and Mahastama Praja. I think that's her name. And then she somehow got made into Vajrapani in Tibet. I don't know how that happened. Okay. In any case, what you want to focus on in your visualization is, actually, we should look in both of our tankas of Amitabha and see they may have the 2 side figures. Yeah, so you can check in there. But what you want to do is, you're focused on Amitabha in front of you, and then light is radiating from Amitabha going out into the universe, purifying the environment, purifying all the sentient beings in it, and bringing all the realizations of the path to all those sentient beings. So you can really do a lot with that visualization in terms of imagining, the people who your mind specifically gets tangled up with, whether it's people you're attached to or people you ignore or people you can't stand, and imagine the light going out to them, and again purifying their negativities, transforming them into Amitabha, bringing all the realizations of the path to them, and also that light coming into you and similarly purifying and bringing realizations and so on. And then sometimes you can focus on doing this with beings and sometimes you can go through the 6 realms and imagine Amitabha sending out emanations to all the 6 realms, bringing whatever the beings in those realms need to them and alleviating their suffering. So in the hell realms, in the hot hells, you would be bringing, cool rain showers and breezes. In the cold hells, lots of comforters and sunshine and sunlight. In the Preta realm, food and thirst. In the animal realm, intelligence, and to free them from their captivity and the way they are being exploited by human beings and eaten by each other. Human beings, we know what they need. And then the God realms, bringing them some wisdom to understand their situation so that they're energized to practice the Dharma. But in all these realms, after you give them the specific things that they need, imagine all these beings practicing the Dharma and gaining the realizations and transforming into Buddhas. And this is very helpful for your mind in many ways. In one sense, it completely purifies our low-grade, polluted perception of ourselves, of others, and of the world. And it gives us some possibility to see things in another light. And, we may say, well, they don't really exist like that now. But it's very helpful to imagine them existing like that because it reminds us of the potential of other sentient beings. If we just form an idea of who somebody is and that's all they are and all they ever will be, then we kind of lose hope on, in terms of the world. But if we remember that all these beings have the Buddha nature, and if they practice can be, become Buddhas, then when we do this visualization, we remember that about everybody. And that's especially helpful, in terms of the people that we have difficulty with, remembering they have the Buddha nature. Okay? And then that softens our judgments about them. It softens our very reified way of looking at them. It reminds us that there's no solid, concrete person there who is a certain way. There's just a body and a mind that are conditioned, and in our visualization, we are reconditioning them. And so, of course, the body and mind change, and the person who's designated on the basis of that body and mind change. Yeah, so they become Buddhas. Yeah, and so put all these put Amitabhas in difficult personal situations you've been in. Send them out to Syria. Send them to wherever there's conflict and. Imagine them teaching all these beings and the beings, practicing. And, Donnie and Putin sit down and they do the Chenrezig retreat together. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah? And so they say if you can't imagine it, it's never going to happen. So, the least we can do is start to imagine it. Okay? And, in this, imagining ourselves as becoming Amitabha as well. Okay. Then after you do the mantra recitation and sending out the light and everything, then you can focus again on Amitabha and at the Om Ah Hung, white Om out of his crown, which is inside the body, underneath the crown chakra, red at the throat, blue hung at his heart. You can focus on those, and then think that white light, very brilliant white light is coming from Amitabha's crown into your crown center, your crown chakra. Very brilliant red light, into your throat chakra. Very brilliant blue light into your heart chakra, and then do all three together. And so the white light represents purifying the body and bringing the realizations of Amitabha's physical deeds, his body. The red light purifying our speech, so a lot to purify there, and bringing the realizations of Amitabha's speech. And the blue light from the hung at his heart are going into our heart, purifying our mind and bringing the realizations of the qualities of the Buddha's mind. Yeah. So if you need to know more about these qualities of a Buddha's body, speech, and mind, you can look in any of the Lamrim books, in the Refuge chapter, and that will describe them to you. Okay, and then at the very end, Amitabha comes on top of your head. The whole Pure Land dissolves into Amitabha. Amitabha comes on top of your head, facing the same way as you do, and then he melts into light and goes through the crown chakra and coming down into your heart, and then you focus at that light, which is Amitabha merging with your own mind. Okay, don't focus a lot on your heart chakra. Just feel that, Amitabha and all his realizations and his loving kindness and everything is completely merging with you, so that you become that loving kindness, you become that wisdom, and so on. Okay, so this is very helpful for us too, because, sometimes we need to know that there's a lot, that we need some loving kindness too, okay? So it's very helpful to think of, when the light coming from Amitabha into us, bringing his loving kindness, which is purifying us and so on, but especially when he dissolves into us, to think that, concentrate first on a close feeling with Amitabha, and really, somebody accepting and you for what you are and having compassion. And then through that acceptance and compassion, and by your mind merging with Amitabha's mind, which is, an omniscient mind that has the four Buddha bodies and is empty of inherent existence, then your mind also becomes a Buddha's mind, and you develop that same realization of emptiness. And so that's another good place in the sadhana, to meditate on emptiness. And then you dedicate. If you need help in terms of the meditation on emptiness, again, it's in most of the Lamrim books. If you look in Khensur Jampa Tekchog's book, Transforming Adversity into the Path, it's explained quite nicely. And in Guided Meditations on the Path, there's a brief outline about how to do that too. Okay, so I was just thinking that Chenrezig and Vajrapani standing while Amitabha is sitting is actually not a problem, because we have the Buddha sitting and Shariputra and Moggallana standing at either side. Okay, and it could be, that Chenrezig is on Amitabha's right, standing for compassion, and Vajrapani usually illustrates power, but maybe that's why he's on the left. But we can see if we can find a tanka and find out for sure.